Well, hey everybody, thank you for coming today. This meeting is a little bit of a community discussion around food security and SNAP, and it's a conversation that is going to be in the full light of public participation, both because feeding Americans and Minnesotans is critically important, and letting the public know that we're working on this so that they can get involved is also critically important. I want to thank our host today, Benny Roberts, Executive Director, Hallie Q. Brown. We appreciate you very much. Can we get a hand for Hallie Q. Brown? And I also want to thank my sister from another mister, Betty McCollum. She's one of the finest people and legislators that this state and country have ever known. Betty McCollum, everyone. Just very quickly, and I also wanted to say thank you to our commissioner, Commissioner Rena Moran. And let me just say, Rena represents, she was in the state legislature for many years. She was in the Ways and Means Committee. But I like to call county government the most important unit of government that you never heard of. There's a lot of money flows through the county, a very, very important partner in this. And so for you to be with us today, very big deal. And of course, Mateo Halbesleben, who is one of our neighbors, one of our fellow Minnesotans, who's going to talk about his experience with the SNAP program, and Stacy Lund, who came from St. Cloud this morning, friends. And because it is so urgently important and so much of a passion for her, and she's from Food Access Catholic Charities. So we'll proceed in that order, and let me just say very quickly, my office, Minnesota Attorney General, we combined with 23 other state attorney generals, plus 3 governors, including Kansas, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania, because last week, in the midst of this shutdown, even though only a few days before the federal government was talking about how it could meet the needs of hungry people during the shutdown, suddenly said, oh, we can't. We knew that was not true. So we filed a lawsuit, and we got positive court rulings in 2 different jurisdictions last week, one in Massachusetts, one in Rhode Island. Both courts said this money that the parties have standing, which means we have a concrete interest in the controversy and have a right, therefore, to participate as a party, and said that what the government was doing was not lawful. And my own belief is that the administration is using food as a weapon, and that's wrong. And so because of that, we have some proceedings that we're going to hear more about. Actually, in the next few minutes, we might have court rulings. And I'm pretty sure that my colleague, my staff member colleague might break in and say, this just happened. Breaking.
Real breaking.
Breaking news. But the courts have already said that this is wrong. And Mateo, I'm glad that, as a person who's participated in the program, I wanted to let you know that the courts have already come on your side. Yeah. And so with that, let me just say that we have to stand up for our fellow Minnesotans, stand up for people having something to eat, and this is all happening simultaneously with a $300 million ballroom being constructed at the White House, 2 planes for the Secretary of Homeland Security to fly around in, 170-something money going out to Javier Milei. And all these things are happening. There's plenty of money to spend, but none for the people who really need it. Plenty of negotiations going on, but none for fellow Americans who are in the U.S. Congress. And so with that, I'll just hand it over to somebody who knows a little bit about the Congress and has spent a little time thinking about how to fight for justice in our Congress, somebody who's working hard every single day, even if the Republican caucus is not. Betty McCollum, everybody.
Thank you, Keith. I'm just going to tip this a little way because I don't want somebody telling me move it later, so
Right.
do it ahead of time. Keith, you're no stranger to the 4th District, you're no stranger to my neighborhood, the
That's
best
right.
neighborhood in St. Paul, the Rondo community.
Rondo.
And with Haley Q. Brown being the shining light here, so thank you for hosting us as you do host our community every single day of the year. Thank you so much. I'm gonna just, social studies teacher, I have to put this in context just for a second, okay? 42 million Americans rely on SNAP. 42 million Americans. 16 million of them are children. 8 million are seniors. And then the rest of the percentage make up people with disabilities or people from our veterans community. These are people who, seniors who have, put in the effort to make America as best as it can be in their communities. The children, we're all, I believe, mutually responsible to make sure that they don't go to bed hungry at night, and as a former teacher, not sitting in a classroom with their stomach growling. And our veterans and our people with a disability community, they're our brothers and sisters. We leave no one behind. Another thing in contents as far as what's going on in Congress, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and so there's a little thing called appropriations law. After we sign the legislation, the House and the Senate with the conference committee report, we send it over to the president, it's signed into law, appropriations law. And the appropriations said that there is a contingency fund which is to be used in case of an emergency so people in this country do not go hungry. It's appropriations law. In fact, for quite a while, the Department of Agriculture knew it was a law. They had it up on their website in September. And all of a sudden, when they decided to make food a weapon, they took it down. Then they started telling us it was illegal. I'm appalled that my Republican colleagues who serve on the Appropriations Committee have not joined us in the support that we're giving attorney generals and governors. Keith, thank you and Governor Walz and the legislature for everything, because members of Congress, we don't have standing. We can only speak out and speak up and sign amicus briefs for the great work that you're doing. It was clearly a violation of law not to have these food payments go out to Americans. And now they're going to be delayed depending upon what the court says and whatever. There is the money there to do that. So I want to hear, so I'm armed with more information when I go back to Washington. But Keith, I can't thank you for all the standing that you and the other AGs have done for the illegal acts and at times unconstitutional acts of this administration. And this is cruel and it's illegal what they did. Thank heavens for the courts.
Well, we couldn't do anything unless you all wrote the law in the first place. So thank you. We can just enforce the law, which you wrote, so
Well,
bless you and thank you.
follow the law.
That's right. How about that? Commissioner?
Well, welcome everyone, and I want to thank Benny Roberts for hosting us here at Haley Q. Brown, and for my congresswoman, my neighbor, and my friend for being here. And of course, my AG, my friend, and the strongest advocate that we can have here in the state of Minnesota, representing us here today. Just want to thank you for all the work. I just want to open up to talk a little bit about, my name is Rena Moran, Ramsey County Commissioner, District 4. This is the district that I represent, and I am really happy to be here. But I wanted to take some time to talk about the impact of what is happening with our federal government, or the lack of action by federal government, and the impact it has on folks here in Ramsey County. So here in Ramsey County, we have about 35,000 active SNAP cases, providing benefits to 68,500 individuals. We also have 3,500 MFIP cases serving nearly 9,800 people. Together, these programs bring about $14 million per month in essential food benefits into our community. This provides a critical safety net for families, children, and seniors. On average, individuals receive about $170 per month through SNAP to help meet basic food needs, which is really critical at a time when you just don't have. Tomorrow, our county manager will provide an update to the county board on Ramsey County allocation of $380,000 in strategic priority funding to strengthen 11 local food shelves, including the one right here at Halleck Brown during this critical time. We saw the need, we know the needs, and so we're going to step up and do our part here in Ramsey County. These additional county resources demonstrate our deep commitment to supporting residents. Well, we also know that we cannot fully replace the SNAP and the WIC federal resources that are infused into our community each month. We just can't do it alone by ourselves. This is why continued federal action and collaboration remains essential to ensuring that families do not go hungry. It is critical. I want to express my gratitude to our federal and state partners here who's doing the work, community organizations who's doing the work, and everyone who's standing with us today. I just want to thank you all for your commitment to families and community. In moments like this, Ramsey County values shine through. We are wanting to know we have to be compassionate, we have to have partnerships, and we have to move to action. And so we will continue to stand steady and show up for those who need us most, working towards a community where everyone who are not just surviving, but can truly continue to thrive. And we cannot do that, and we will not do that without strong advocates and supporters like our Congresswoman here, like our county attorney here, and our community partners. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to, well, let's hear it. Before I hand it over to Mr. Benny Roberts, let me just also recognize and thank Representative McCollum from 65A, and this is, we're in your district. Thank you for being here, Representative, and then also Councilmember Anika Bowie, Ward 1, and this is your ward. So thank you all for being here. Mr. Benny.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here on such an urgent notice. We here at Halleck Brown have been serving this community for nearly a decade, including my family for 4 generations. And so when I speak about the impact of community, it's also impacting my own family. And so we want to just continue to lift up this issue and be praying for resolution that would really stop the torture of many of our most vulnerable people in our community. On a day-to-day basis, we're seeing families come here already with food insecurity needs. We all know the challenges of this community with the most recent grocery stores closing, which also makes access difficult for people without transportation. And what we've seen even just last week with the threat of SNAP being cut, we saw our food shelf needs double last week, which continues to put a strain on all of our communities, all of our food shelves, all of our churches, and all of our neighbors that do these goodwill that try to make sure that no one goes hungry. And so with that, we've partnered with Daryl Cobb, who I'm excited to see in the room as well. Keystone operates the largest food shelf in our city. They're dear partners of ours in this fight to end hunger. We also have folks who kind of bite at the apple, per se, in many different ways with Merrick and Neighborhood House. We see Every Meal here, other institutions that are really trying to fight together to make sure no one goes hungry here. We're never going to be able to food shelf our way out of this, though. And so even with the aid, we just want to continue to find ways to get the resources. We're thankful to get notice from Ramsey County about increased aid that's going to really benefit us through this year end. And this fight is much bigger than we were anticipating. So I really appreciate our federal, state, county, and city teams really bonding together to make sure this gets magnified, make sure that we continue to fight that you guys are doing in Capitol Hill. It is disgusting to see, I'll say that, but also we're watching the rich get richer at the expense of our vulnerable. And so we're here to continue to fight. Halleck Brown was founded from the community knowing that they need to take care of their own needs. And so we're going to stay in that rhythm, but we're going to help our neighbors across the city and beyond to make sure that we can be resourced together.
Thanks, Benny. Good job. Let's hear it from Benny, everyone. And now I'd love to hand the microphone to Mateo Helbesleben.
Good job. It's a difficult last name. 45
I
years
took a
ahead.
semester in German, so.
Okay, well, I took about 5 years in German, and I have had this name for 45 years, and I still have to stop and remember where I'm at when I'm spelling it. So it's anyway. Well, A of all, I'm not really much of a public speaker. Most of my experience is rather blue collar, and about a week and a half ago when I responded to Channel 5 putting a post up about people that would talk about being on EBT and how the government shutdown could affect them, I sent a message, and I didn't think I was going to hear back. And it wasn't until the second press experience that ended up happening through this, a press conference here a few days ago, that it dawned on me why there wasn't much competition for people to talk about their experience being on EBT and SNAP or disability or whatever programs are out there. It's shame. Like, none of us are proud to be on it. And while I'm on it right now, I definitely do not plan to be on it for the rest of my life, because even if you do get disability and all the support programs, it is still below poverty, the amount of money that you have to go off of. So while there's plenty of stories out there of people that are on this, I guess I will tell my story, because that's what I've been asked to do. A few years ago, I was capable to work full-time on the regular, and between overtime and side gigs, I'd be able to pull off 60 hours a week here and there. And I had some savings because I've had some chronic health issues that in the past, because of experience not being able to work for a while, I had a little bit of savings for that rainy day, and it wasn't enough to buy a house, but it could have been a down payment on a rather nice car. But I found out I had cancer, and at first I thought it was cancer-like because it was just melanoma skin cancer. And I went in for what I thought would be a 3-hour procedure, and 12 hours later and reconstructive surgery, I all of a sudden was like, well, this definitely puts a damper in situations. And I had already been dealing with some health things that were coming up before that, and I had gone through my savings, and I ended up losing my rather affordable apartment at the time to live in. And also had to go through moving with a injury that it took about 6 months before I could use my right side of the body again. And because of a car accident I had years ago where residual damage built up and built up, that's mostly on my left side. So having not been able to use my right side properly for 6 months, that pushed all the damage on the left side just all the way over, and then ended up finding out that my left rib cage doesn't move right, so I have to consciously think about breathing if I want to do anything beyond the shallow breath. At different times, the muscles can pull to the point that I don't breathe, and so as I've been going through physical therapy and other therapies, trying to get this back in row, because at this moment we're doing the physical therapy, but it could very well end up that this won't work. Then I have to go to a specialist, which is in a different state, and I have no idea if my insurance will cover it. So while a lot of these experiences were pretty rough, and didn't really think my midlife crisis would be this, but here we are. So as a couple of years of not being able to work and not being able to get on disability, I had food stamps and I had general assistance, which general assistance is essentially disability light for those that don't know about it. You have to get a doctor approval, and at this point it's come up to $360 a month, but a year and a half ago it was $203. And then with that, I do get my food stamps of $292 a month, which as prices continue to go up, I don't care how good of a budgeter you are, that is hard to stretch. So during this process, I've had a lot of friends that have supported me financially, food-wise, bought me snacks when I was having a bad day. And I'm now at the point where I'm sort of being able to start working part-time again. And honestly, most of this work that's now getting thrown at me, I think are pity shifts from my friends, which I am happy to receive it. And honestly, that's where most of my wealth is my family and my friends and the support network I've had. And while I have friends in many places, I have some friends that they're very successful and they live in beautiful houses out in Minnetonka. But then I have friends that they're on disability. Most of their disability payment pays for their apartment, and if they're lucky, they have a couple $100s at the end of the month. And I know friends that have large families that they work hard to make sure everything happens, but they're still on food stamps. And I do understand where a demographic of people are angry at the people that get these benefits and their food stamps, because they work hard and they don't have much to see for it. So I can understand where that's that. But my fundamental basis of thought on all of this is it's not poor people to be mad at. Like, be mad at the CEOs that are making too much money. Be mad at the billionaires that are buying out laws doing this. Be mad at the politicians that are taking very creative and interesting ways to get bribes in front of all of us. And it's just the people below you, they're not the reason why you're getting screwed over. So while I rehearsed a lot of things in my head to talk about, I think I'll just leave it at that.
You're great, man.
Thank you. Oh, I have one other thing. As much as I hem and haw between paying attention to the world and politics and then trying to not pay attention to it, to just hold on to what little sanity I have left, it's not often that you necessarily get to meet a politician that did something directly for you. But, Mr. Ellison, I worked for a restaurant corporation at one point that pulled some BS with their employees getting paid, and your office helped with that. And during my experience of housing instability, some of my dear friends brought me and my cats to live in their attic, but they, well, I don't remember the name of the company. It was the slumlord company that, yes, and now it's be turned into affordable housing and whatnot.
Right.
Well, I lived in one of those houses, and the way they treated their tenants, there was flooding, there was infestation, there was just not any care at all. So, while I'm sure I have a longer list, those two things I will directly thank you for.
Bless you. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All the way from St. Cloud, Minnesota.
It's really not that far, but yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm here really to represent the provider perspective at Catholic Charities. We serve the 16 counties of the diocese, broadband across central Minnesota, and food access just happens to be one of our areas of work that we do. And our work is important for people like Mateo, who have experiences that often are one illness, one job loss, one crisis away from needing our services. And we do have a large food shelf that we serve. Last year, 2.4 million pounds of food. And last year we saw an increase from the year before. This year I'm sure like Benny and every food shelf in Minnesota, we are on a record pace to serve even more. Last week, the crisis and the panic of the people in our community, of the fear of what will they do if their SNAP benefits are ending. Or not available to them, and even the delay of not having food this week or next week for families is a very big deal. We as a food shelf really are trying to, or last week have been trying to position ourselves of what will our reaction be. We know that we'll need more food and resources, that we'll have more people walking through our door, needing our services. And we also are at this moment where we don't really know how long the government shutdown is going to last, how some of these changes are going to be impacting the people that we serve. And so as an agency, really trying to think about the long game too, like not just what's going to happen this morning and the number of people that are going to walk in our door on Monday, November 3rd, but what, you know, it's going to look like maybe at the end of the month or into December. And so for us, we rely heavily on volunteers, donations. Of course, we purchase food as well from our food bank. 36% of the SNAP recipients in the state of Minnesota are children. 18% are seniors.
Yeah.
We see those very similar demographics reflected in the people that we serve in our food shelf in St. Cloud. And so these are, you know, not only the Mateos who are living through a crisis, really, and a change in life, but people who really are depending on us, who are most vulnerable in our communities. And we're seeing a similar reaction. We have a large senior nutrition contract in central Minnesota, and seniors are, you know, we're seeing this at our congregate and our senior dining sites as well, that the attendance and the needs are increasing from those folks, and our job as a provider and at Catholic Charities is really to respond to that need that we're seeing and the reaction that is affecting our community and the people that we serve. And so we do our best to do that, but it really is at a time now where there is also a level of anxiety for people, that there is a different level of care that is needed for these individuals. You know, you have Mateo mentioned shame, and you know, really we try to offer the most dignified experience for the people who come to us, because it is hard. You know, asking for help and coming forward and needing to rely on somebody else, whether it be the county, the state, it doesn't really matter. That is a tough transition and a tough ask for individuals to make, and our job is to do the best that we can for that experience to be dignified and to meet their basic needs. And so that's what I can tell you from that.
Thank you, Stacy.
And I'll just offer this as just a quick reflection. You know, in my business as Attorney General, we get about 85,000 calls a year from people who need services, some sort of a consumer protection problem. And the people who sometimes don't call us right away often report that they were embarrassed. They're like, how could I get scammed this way? How could I let this happen? I feel bad. I feel ashamed. And what I found is that people who have no reason to feel ashamed sometimes do, and people who should be ashamed don't feel ashamed at all. I mean, you had on your website that you would be ready to take care of food insecure people in the case of the shutdown. You took it off and then said you couldn't do it. Then now two courts said you can do it and must do it, and there's no mea culpas. There's no I'm sorry, we thought we were doing the right thing, because they never thought they were doing the right thing. So I would just say that don't let the fact that you need a little help from your neighbors every now and again make you feel bad. We all get by with a little help from our friends. All of us. That's why we live in society. That's why we live in community. And today you might need some help, but tomorrow I might need some help. So we just do this for each other. That's how we live. But when I think about the big ugly bill that you had to deal with,
Yeah. So,
you know.
Well, to your point, Keith, make no mistake about this. This has been part of the Trump administration's goal for a long time, to cut support for SNAP. It's in Project 2025. The architect of Project 2025 is sitting in the catbird seat at the Office of Budget and Management, deciding illegally what funds will be released and what funds will not be released. And to your point, in the big beautiful bill, $18 billion cut to SNAP in the next spending year, But that goes on for 10 years. So let's do a multiplying factor of that. $180 billion cuts to SNAP in the big beautiful bill. Why? So that they could give more tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. And the other tax cut that they took away was to a lot of our families here in Minnesota for health care. But that, you think that's bad enough? If you were on the House floor, you would have, or in committee with me, you would have voted no on the agricultural bill, because even though the big beautiful bill cut billions of dollars, the Republicans also included another $4 billion cut to SNAP in the appropriations bill. So this was, this is crocodile tears that you're hearing from this administration. Oh, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't do anything. SNAP has been considered an appropriations entitlement, which means SNAP is mandatory funding, and it relies on the passage of appropriation laws. It was signed into law, and it had the money to go, and so this is just smoke and mirrors when it comes to feeding our neighbors, our seniors, and our children. So thank you for sharing. Thank you. We've got other providers in the room. Maybe just raise your hand up so we can thank you for all the work that you do. So. You're right, Keith. This is a setup, and they're using the government not being open as an excuse for them not to do their job.
And by the way, the guy you're talking about is it Vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Vote at MMB.
Yeah.
Which is not MMB.
OMB.
OMB.
That's okay. You've got different initials.
right. I said, that don't sound right. Anyway, look, let's talk. This is a sort of a hybrid community meeting, and also with the press invited. The questions don't have to come exclusively from the press. So if you want to make a comment or ask a question, this is a good time for that. So anybody, before we go to the press? Want to make a point?
Well, let's ask Rena a question.
Oh, Rena, go for it.
So Rena, we're asking you a question because I'm going to go back to Washington tomorrow, and Keith has been very successful, and we'll see how successful as the court rules. But
yeah.
Thank you. You have to administer these funds. So when they're delayed, when they're radically changed, and as Ms. Lund pointed out, we know there's going to be some delay. This is more work for the county, more taxpayers' dollars for the county to get out what was supposed to go out in an orderly fashion. So tell me what you think I should be telling my constituents when they call on the phone.
Yeah, as I was listening to everyone speak here, I was thinking about the impact it has on Ramsey County, or all counties, right? Mm-hmm. Because as a legislator, I had the privilege to go back into lobby like my former job, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was able to share with them is that the in my view, is that the work of the county is to implement what has been handed down to the counties, right? And we are a part of trying to make their world come true, right? And doing that, we can only do so much, is because that at Ramsey County, we can only do the work through a levy. That means that we are trying to do what we do as we are taxing the people, right? And the people that we are taxing are those who are coming to us asking for help. And that really puts a burden on our budget, even though, as I stated here, that we are going to allocate $380,000 to 10 food shelves within Ramsey County, right? Because we know that is the responsible thing to do. That we know that people are falling on hard times. This is not just people, this is like children and seniors, those with disabilities. And so it is a value that we carry, but it can also put a burden on those that we're trying to serve, because we are really in the midst of a budget right now for 26 to 27. That $380,000 that we are utilizing right now was not part of the budget. Mm. It was not in the budget. Mm. So we're grabbing money that was not in the budget to serve in the community who are not getting, SNAP benefits at this moment. And it's something we have to do as a county. We know we are able to follow the law. Right. Laws matter.
They do.
Right? They do matter. And when you don't follow the law, there should be some consequences for that. And so we are stepping up to do the work and to do the work of the people because we know that it is important that our children are not going to school hungry, that our seniors are not going to sleep hungry, those with disabilities who cannot always take care of themselves, and we are stepping in to do that work. And so it's difficult. It's a difficult time all around.
Thank you. Any others before we turn it over to the, yeah, go for it.
Hi,
Say your name first.
I'm Tia Williams. I work for Frogtown Neighborhood Association. We have a food program called Feeding Frogtown.
Feeding Frogtown.
From my understanding, from Second Harvest, we are the second in food disparities with Frogtown in Minnesota. Places like Second Harvest are getting large amounts of money, and then the pennies, the nickels go down to like our food shelves. And I'm wondering, like, with the allocations of all these dollars I'm hearing, how are we gonna make sure that that money is getting to the places where it needs to be?
By working with you, by being in communication, by making sure we're listening and we're at the table coordinating together. I think that's very important. It's one of the lessons that we have to really embrace is that in tough times like this, we have to look out for each other. So thank you for being here for the people of Frogtown because they need a voice, and you brought it, and it's important to do. I was at Second Harvest on Saturday, bagging potatoes because I wanted to. Because in this moment when we're fighting for a SNAP, I wanted to be around people who really care about food for families. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank of all of the local community groups that make sure that food gets to the people. So thank you, and thanks for being here today. All right, cool. Yep.
Hi, my name is Michelle Ness. I'm the Executive Director of PRISM, or Food Shelf in Golden Valley.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Representative McCollum, for speaking about the other cuts to SNAP that have come through with the big, beautiful bill. As a food shelf provider, we've seen numbers going up consistently, and with that implementation, I've absolutely expected them to accelerate. So I think that's a really important part of the context and conversation in this moment and into the future. Yeah. My question is, should the administration choose not to comply, what recourse might we have?
Well, we'll be back in court. We'll be back. Just know this. I've sued Trump over 40 sometimes. I'll sue him more. It's all right to me. Going to court with this administration is just another day. And so we will fight them every day in this court. We will stay on after them. If they don't comply with the law, we will bring motions for the court to find them in contempt. We are not playing with them. And they're not playing with us either, by the way. It's sad that we're in this battle, but that's where we are. But your AG is not backing down from it. And I just want to just say this, Michelle, thank you for the work you do. One of the things that you help people understand is that sometimes we want to locate poverty in certain areas, or we want to locate poverty with certain groups of people. Well, the truth is, you're in a suburb that a lot of people consider a middle class suburb, right? And it is. It's a beautiful community, but there are people in need even in those communities. So this is very important, and you all have not just a food shelf, but you all have a clothing closet for people who need that. Shop for change. You have a range of services. And I just want to say that for those of you like PRISM and Frogtown, Feeding Frogtown, invite us politicians to see what you're doing on the ground, walk through, maybe even hand out some clothes or bag some groceries just to get a tactile experience, so that we can really help elevate and magnify the story that you're telling every day.
Yeah, the other thing to your point, and Keith's work is so important right now, because we have fellow members of Congress, appropriators who are Republicans, who know that what the president is doing and the administration is doing is illegal. But we have only been in session since we passed the big, beautiful bill in July. We have only been in session to vote and work 12 days. 12 days. So we have a healthcare crisis. We have a food crisis. Here in Minnesota, we know we're going to have an energy crisis. We need to be in the House and in the Senate doing our jobs. No one wants in a shutdown. No one wants the shutdown to continue. But to your point, and we were talking where you went to court and what I just mentioned about appropriation laws. You know, when they say let's pass this clean CR. Well, you know what? We did that in March with no guarantees that the law would be followed. So we want some guarantees that we will address the healthcare crisis, now that we will address the food crisis, and that our colleagues will stand up where the first article of the Constitution stand up to the administration and say, you will not break appropriation laws. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Right there in the back.
Good morning. I had some questions related to planning for this. Sasha Pratt, African American Regional Council. As it relates to my background is in public safety, and we know that there's deep overlap between poverty and public safety outcomes. I'm curious at both the state and the county level, what plans outside of the use of carceral systems, corrections, and law enforcement are being put in place to not criminalize the poor, who may resort to whatever means necessary to ensure that they are able to eat and take care of their families in the midst of a crisis around food.
Well, like one of the things we're doing, and one of the reasons I'm glad Mateo mentioned this issue very bravely, that sometimes people who benefit from these programs are sort of made to feel that they're doing something wrong when they're not. And that is because what we've got to make sure that is want and is deprivation and as hunger goes up, that the response is not is a compassionate response, not just a hard hand of the law response. I mean, that's absolutely critical that we keep that in mind. And so that's part of why we're doing this today, is to try to create that atmosphere that what we need to do is turn to each other, not turn on each other, right? And that, you know, in this time, I've heard several of y'all, Stacy, several say, we need volunteers, we need donations, you know, and there's no way that the federal government can just step out as a partner and leave and people can make up for it. But we all do have to do the best we can. But thanks for raising that issue, because I mean it's reality, Madam Ms. Cotton. Yeah. Anika Bowie.
Thank you, AG. I just want to say I really deeply appreciate convening this conversation. It's so pressing. We know we all see it in the press. We all feel it. We're all impacted. I just want to ask a question, particularly from the city. You know, the city council, we've invested in our commercial corridors. We make sure we have strengthened our small businesses. We make sure that people have access to food markets and food shelves. But I feel like we're also asking the people who stretch so thin to do more. And one of the things that I have not heard, not only in this conversation, but just broader, is that the impacts of the cuts to retailers, to our grocery stores, and where their voice in this process. I know, you know, on the AG, we're also making sure we're holding our businesses accountable. But what's the role that they could play? Because they're also going to be very impacted. They're going to see a huge decrease in revenue, and we're going to see that huge decrease in revenue in terms of like the tax base here in Minnesota. So I'm just
Anybody want to address this? If you don't have SNAP, what happens to our food retailers and the people who they employ? Anybody want to take up that one?
Well, you know, let's look at COVID as the example.
Yeah.
When COVID was happening, people weren't being paid, people were afraid to go out. The Retail Association from the grocers did lobby Congress, and we did do some things. Made it easier for people with disabilities or small children to get groceries delivered. Made sure that we supported the grocers when things were going on. We haven't been in, maybe they're out there talking to members of Congress, but we haven't heard from them. Why? Because we're not working. I hear about them on the news when I hear the news reports, but they have not had the opportunity at a federal level to come to the House of Representatives and speak to the membership, to their local representative, what the impact of not having the SNAP go out in a timely fashion and what all these cuts are going to mean to their community and their being able to deliver and this is not just food, this is nutrition, right? You need nutrition when you're going through cancer.
That's right.
And you need nutrition if you're a senior. You need nutrition if you're a kid. So sometimes when we talk about food, people are like, oh, you know, the big category. This is about basic nutrition.
That's right.
So they're
Yeah.
probably out there, but I'm going back to work. We'll see if anybody else shows up. Mr. Speaker, open up the house.
But I do want to thank you, Nika, for raising this issue of our retailers, because the economy, think of the economy as a series of actions and reactions, right? So, action. Federal government says no SNAP. Then the people don't get their EBT cards filled. Then they can't go to the store and buy stuff. Then the owner of that retail store is like, well, sorry, son, can't keep you on. Things have slowed down around here. So now you're dealing with layoffs. So then that person that can't contribute to their household income, and now maybe they need food shelf. So pressure goes up on the food shelf as unemployment does what? Rises in the middle of job slowdown, in the middle of auto loan debt delinquencies going up, in the middle of credit card debt delinquency going up, in the middle of all these. If your cousin used to work at the VA, maybe they got a RIF. What is that? This is a layoff program, and because there's been a lot of federal layoffs, and on top of that, your other cousin who's farming for soybeans in rural Minnesota, right? They ain't selling any, right? You know that. And the people who work in the processing plants aren't selling any. And then on top of that, your premiums just went up.
Yep.
For, you know, in my office, the total increase is 32%. Our office is taking 16. The employee is taking 16. And so basically they got their pay cut. And so, you know, when these people say they're cutting taxes, they're not, they're only cutting taxes on the richest of the rich. Think Elon Musk is getting a tax cut. Because your taxes are going up. Because as these things flow down, because if the federal government doesn't do it, the local government has to. So now you're looking at property taxes and a levy. Y'all following where I'm going with this? And so it's not like, so tax, when the taxes are cut for the richest of the rich, taxes go up on local government, and then people are like, wait a minute, I'm already being squeezed. Yeah, they are, and this is terrible. We don't want that to happen. But it sort of is think of the economy as a series of actions and reactions which reverberate throughout the economy. Let me tell you, this SNAP thing is a big deal, and I'm glad you asked about it. And don't forget, when food stamps started, it was a way to help increase commodity prices in the agricultural economy. This is like back in the 1930s when you know, farmers were very productive, and their food was just sitting there because nobody could buy it, and the prices were so low. And so this is a way to create a demand market, right? So this is why we say, and Betty knows this better than anyone, $1 in food stamps is about $1.50 in economic effect throughout the economy.
Might even be more than that.
Yeah, might be more. Yeah.
I'd like to speak as a citizen, not as a representative.
Speak as whoever you please.
With the consolidation of wealth, the consolidation of power, the destruction of our different federal government, federal law enforcement agencies, with the isolation from global partners, with the ignoring of courts and laws, are we kind of ignoring the fact that we're in the middle of an authoritarian takeover?
I appreciate your observation. You have any thoughts about what we should do about it as a society?
Well, my representatives are in this room, so there's voting, but are we going to have free and fair elections? Are we going to have...
Let me tell you, right now, me and Steve Simon are fighting to make sure that there are free and fair elections in Minnesota. Right now, the federal government has demanded that we turn over information and voting data to them. We have said, no, it's not their data. It's the people of the state of Minnesota's data. They will not be getting our data. And so we're fighting that fight. But I think your point is well taken. Part of what we have to do is vote. Part of what we have to do is litigate. Part of what we have to do is keep on fighting and let the legislature in the Congress, but I mean, I was at No King's Day on October 18th, where about 7 million Americans said that they don't like the direction that the president is dragging our country in, and that means a lot. And so there, you still have a First Amendment right to speak up. And what we're doing right now is First Amendment activity, freedom of assembly. Anybody heard of that?
Right.
Yeah, so that's your constitutional right. So thank you for raising that. We'll take a few from the ladies and gentlemen of the press, and after that we'll resolve.
Attorney General, could you, I guess, break down, maybe for people in this room,
Sure.
watching this, the legal aspect of what happens next with the rulings that happened over the weekend, the temporary
Right.
restraining order? What does that mean? What should happen with that?
Right.
What do you think will happen with that? And what's the recourse here?
This is a great question. So the question is, last week, 2 different entities, state AGs and a couple of governors, and some private sector individuals sued. We got 2 court orders. Both of them said they were standing, and this is a legal term, which is very important, which means we have a right to be in the litigation. And then 2, and the point Betty made is very important. Court said a while back that unless you have to have a majority of the Congress in order for the Congress to have standing. So if there's a minority that wants to sue, they don't have standing. So, but we've been able to establish standing, and that the action of the federal government is unlawful, the Department of Agriculture. So now, because courts don't want to have to run the government, they said, now you've heard us, we said this is unlawful, what are you going to do in response? And I don't know what time it is exactly on the East Coast. Might be
Everybody's checking their phones over there.
well, what's that?
11:25.
So it's about 11:25 on the East Coast. So right now, we're waiting on courts to make a decision. We're waiting on the courts to hear from the federal government as to how they're going to work out the situation in light of the court's ruling that their conduct is unlawful. So from here, maybe the administration will simply comply with the court order and start with the food. They might not do that, in which case we'll be arguing that they're in contempt. If they do that, then they've got to execute in a deliberate manner that gets food to people as fast as possible, no slow dragging. If they do that, then we'll also be back in court. The court in Massachusetts had said, look, we do recognize that $5 billion is not that much money. We'll give you the choice of lower allotments but so that it can last a little longer, because nobody knows how long the shutdown is going to be, or you can do it all now, but you're going to have to do something. And so these are the issues that are riding right now. So thank you for your question, because what happens next? People should be getting fed next. People like Rita Moran and other local leaders here. I mean, there's going to be a gap between the court ordering, so do it, and actually people getting food. That won't be instantaneous. And so these things are up in the air, but we'll be in touch with you.
Is there a world in which that all doesn't happen? The government decides we're not going to hand this out, and the court said that should be happening. Do you foresee that as a possibility?
I think it is foreseeable but unlikely, and let me just tell you why. When it comes to domestic court matters where we have sued the Trump administration and the court has ruled in our favor, generally speaking, which means there are exceptions, they have complied with the court orders. There have been some notable ones in the area of immigration where they have not complied with court orders. Think Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. Think several others, right? And there are real problems in this area. But for the most part, when the court says turn the money back on, they've turned the money back on. Now, sometimes just the disruption has messed us up. When we had to sue over these healthcare grants, our commissioner said, yeah, because some of the people were provisional employees, we can't hire them all back, even though you guys won in court. And so it does cause disruption even if we win. There are, I mean, and look at the CFPB. We're still, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, we're still fighting through that. We've got good court orders there, but they're still not able to function at full speed. So that's the situation. But I do, in direct response to your question, I do feel confident that they will comply with the court order because they have done so far. May I add one case that I want everybody to keep their eye on? There on November 5th, next week, or this week, the Supreme Court is going to hear the tariffs case. A tariff, friends, is a tax. China does not pay the tariff. The importer within the United States pays the tax, which means you pay the tax. And we sued the federal government because actually the constitutional authority to do tariffs is congressional authority. It's written in the Constitution. The words are there. President Trump said, well, there's an emergency, so I can do it. And then you all have seen 100% today, we'll lower it tomorrow. All that you've seen, the erratic, crazy behavior, which has destroyed numerous industries. That issue will be debated that issue will be argued in court on November 5th, and we're watching very carefully for the sake of Minnesota soybean growers and others, because like I said, you may not ever have seen soybean crop, but you might be in the business of processing soybean products, right? So this is a big deal, and Minnesota is very much in the heart of this. I just thought I'd bring that to everybody's attention since we're all together. Any other press-related questions, or should we wrap? Well, thanks a lot for being here, everybody. Applause to all of you guys. Thank you all. Final words, Betty?
This was a choice. This was a choice. And it was a choice to break the law. And it was a choice to put so many of our American brothers and sisters in a very vulnerable position. This was a choice. This did not have to happen. But I appreciate the choice that you made with the other AGs. I appreciate the choice that Ramsey and Washington County and other counties have made to change your budgets around to do what you can to fill in a gap. I appreciate the choice that Governor Walz made. But that was a choice that you're making because the President of the United States took an illegal action and did not release the appropriate funds for SNAP, which is guaranteed in the law. And I sure hope, and I'm in the minority, but I'm sure gonna fight, that your choice gets paid back. So for the next emergency, the state of Minnesota, Ramsey, Washington counties, and the other counties around this country that have stood up and done the right thing when the president chose to do the wrong thing, know that I'm with you.
And I'll just say, President seems to be willing to talk to President Xi in China, but he won't talk to Democratic members of Congress, which is kind of crazy in my view. Yeah. And they need to get back to the table and negotiate and protect American and Minnesota family budgets. And food should never be a weapon. Mm-hmm. Thank y'all.
Thank you.